Hi everyone, it's Rob Watson, the module leader for TECH3022, and this is the 13th overview summary of the 13th lecture. Not the 13th overview summary, it's the first overview summary of the 13th lecture. Let's get it right. So this is about participation culture, and I'll just cover some of the core topics and issues that we're going to cover in the lecture. So what we're talking about is, I think I've changed the title from what it was originally published in the module handbook, because it doesn't really relate to, I think we're talking about YouTube, and we're talking about how YouTube is a place for collaboration. And actually I thought that was better to call that as kind of the model of participation. Let's look at the way that YouTube enhances a model of participation. And we'll back this up with looking at some stuff in the workshop. So as you might be familiar with, participation is an essential element within the ideas around social media. It's also an essential element in one of the shifts and changes in the technology that supported social media, so it became a two-way participation of media, being able to share, being able to produce and create your own work, and being able to share that, and being able to engage in discussion and conversation about that, and to follow a thread of other discussions and conversations. So what we want to think about, go back to our first year where we looked at the affordances and constraints model in the Jones and Hafner book. So we're thinking about media as a set of tools that enable us to do certain things and constrain us in other ways. And so whilst technological change is generally, is it neutral? Let's ask the question, is it neutral, or is it something that shapes the framework within which we can engage with the world and each other? So what we're thinking about is kind of these collaborative tools enable us to think in a more, if you like, interdisciplinary nature. So we're able to offer a set of practices and a set of ideas for which we need to develop our skills and our capabilities, our literacies, based around an idea of kind of an emergent contribution and kind of the collaboration and kind of collective knowledge which these things, these forms of social media enable. So we'll look at this in the idea of kind of user-generated content and peer production, and how YouTube is something which really kind of prefigures that, and kind of in the past has celebrated the use of user-generated content that is produced by the users themselves, that drive the channel, rather than necessarily being produced by commercially driven executives in a centralized New York or London production company. So our thoughts are around what are the affordances? What does YouTube enable, something like YouTube enable us to do, because other platforms are available? What does YouTube encourage us to do in terms of seeking content and finding content and sharing content? And what's the model of participation that is built into YouTube, which has made it very stable and very successful for such a long period of time? So we'll look at one of the good ways to do this is to look at some of the genres that are popular on YouTube, and I'm sure maybe you can tell me more about this, because I'm a casual YouTube user. I'm not a kind of an in-depth user. I don't make my living out of producing these videos, for example, so I'm not here showing you things that I've bought and opening the boxes, the open box style video. Then there are some kind of bizarre, we'll look at some of the kind of more esoteric activities, things that people do on YouTube, and then there's the kind of things which, there's the type of media that you find on YouTube which kind of you wouldn't expect that it would draw you in, but you kind of find that you get fascinated by watching it. Many kind of canal trips on a barge, or a train journey, or something simple, watching a washing machine on YouTube. There's these bizarre types of things. And then there's been a big promotion and push on YouTube for vloggers and YouTube stars, and kind of promoting the followers and celebrations. And we'll look at some, and there's been some controversy recently by a number of YouTube vloggers who have kind of overstepped some cultural marks, if you like. So we need to think about that. So are YouTube stars taking over the world is a good question. So maybe they are, maybe some are, maybe some aren't. We'll look at some examples, but we're going to look at this in the context of an idea which is built into social media, which is the idea of generative content. And you are what you make, you are what you share, you are what you produce. We've shifted from thinking about if you remember the Marshall McLuhan idea, the media is the message, to thinking about the mediators of the message. And what is it the mediators produce and share? So this is part of a participatory culture, a shift in thinking about participation and what participation means, and how we can engage and encompass the positive benefits of participation, so that we get something from it which adds to the collective good, and isn't just seen as something which is kind of narrow and based around a few small a few narrow interests of some very powerful people. So we're going to ask some questions. What does it mean? What does it enable? What do we need to do in order to build a collaborative community? And this could be something that we build into the social media project that we're now working on, in order to be able to look at what it is that kind of gets things done and works, if you like, in a way that kind of brings people into a secure, participative community and culture online. So there's some key issues with that. So my principles of social media will be trotted out again here. So we'll discuss this in detail. We need to lower our expectations. If something's worth doing, it's worth doing badly. If you can't join it, parody it and fake it till you make it. So that's our challenge, to think about those social media principles and how they can be applied into our social media project. And does it make a difference? That's what we're interested in. We're trying to find that out. And if it doesn't make a difference, then we'll try something else. So maybe that should be the fifth. Does it make a difference? Actually, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we'll open that up. Right, the notes are up on the DMU Commons wiki. Just go to wiki.our.dmu.ac.uk and you can download them from the TECH3022 section. Likewise, if you want to have a conversation and you want to follow on with some of these topics and issues, DMU Talk is there. Just go to talk.our.dmu.ac.uk and create a new topic if you wish, but it'd be good to have a wider conversation and show some examples and share some examples of different types of media that we think is relevant. So there we go. See you at the lecture next week.